May I offer you tonight on the menu? Would you prefer pain d'essence, petrol, gasoline, or would Monsieur care for something a little more sparkly? Something like the electricity. But regardless, both of these things can be had on this beautiful Volvo XC60 Recharge. Come with me and we will dig further into this beautiful and delicious automobile. Inquiry. If you were an SUV, what kind of SUV would you be? I'd be a hybrid. That's what I would do. And before you, we have a very, very interesting hybrid because it is part of the Volvo family of 2023 vehicles. And Volvo is actively involved in completely eliminating internal combustion engines from their automotive lineup. They're moving straight into electricity. But like many things, it must be transitioned. It must be handled delicately. So what they've done is, and I want you to go back with me just a little bit to a previous YouTube video that I did for you that involved the Volvo V60 cross-country wagon. Because this is actually a very similar vehicle in many respects. It has the same 2.0 liter, also known as 2 liter, inline 4 turbocharged direct fuel injected engine, except this one is of course tuned a little differently and puts out more power. But the cross country was a very mild hybrid, meaning that it just had a 48 volt system that only added about a total of 13 horsepower to the total power output, and was kind of a helper rather than an actual full hybrid type of situation. Well, this is the next step up. This is an actual hybrid, and it has instead of a 48 volt system, it has a 200 to 450 volt system, a big high output lithium ion hybrid battery, and it adds 143 horsepower to an already robust 312 horsepower that's coming out of your internal combustion engine for a grand total. Oh yes, and there's also a rear motor that powers the rear wheels in all-wheel drive operation. So altogether 455 horsepower is on tap for you, which is kind of outstanding. And it's also an extremely comfortable, roomy, oh yeah, it's a Volvo, so it's safe, and great little SUV. But one of the most interesting aspects of it is it's kind of a stepping stone towards the full electric version, since everything Volvo sells that's an automobile in the United States is going to be completely electrified very soon. Now, another great thing about this is, yes, it is in fact a hybrid, but it is a plug-in hybrid. What's that mean for those of us unfamiliar with the genre? Well, it means it's a regular hybrid and you never have to plug it in, but you can, because this way you can fully charge that nice 18 kilowatt battery and get about, Volvo claims about 40 miles on full electric power. I've been getting in the mid-30s, which is quite laudable. Think about it, if you only live 10 miles from the workplace, why, you could go to the workplace on electric, and if you have a facility there to plug in, you can plug in while you're at work and then drive home later maybe even stop by, get something to eat, that kind of thing. And never even use your internal combustion engine for any real propulsion. Everything else is completely handled by your electrical system. So, is this the ultimate in today's situation where you have the ability to have an electric car, but you don't have to worry about plugging it in if you don't have to? But you can if you have that facility available? Could be. Stay with us and we'll examine this much further. Motivation. It is what motivates us, this motivation. So, here we have our 2-liter inline 4, which is turbocharged with direct fuel injection. Now, the thing that's so interesting about this, well, a lot of things are interesting, but first of all, this is the same basic engine that's in the cross country, the V60 cross country. But there are a lot of changes, and the most important being this big thing right over here, which is your electric complex, which is part of the electric motor system on the front that drives the front wheels. And it's so much larger than was the cross country. It's barely even there, but this thing is a whole different setup. And something else that's really interesting is I could swear, and I'm probably wrong, but I could swear the turbocharger on some of the other Volvo engines is in the back, right? This one is right down here in the front. Turbocharger is actually here, and you go around back, and here is where we have our injection site. In other words, the air that's been fortified by the turbocharging goes in this side of the engine, whereas the exhaust side is this side. And again, like with all Volvos, there's this massive thing here that I think, as far as I know, is an engine stabilization device. It would explain why the engine's so smooth. But I don't know how that works, but it's beautiful. And down there you got your V-belt right there. So this is basically the front of the engine. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's your cylinders. And what flavor oil do we use? We use 020. Okay. 020 oil goes in this particular rascal. So what were our numbers again? Okay, the engine itself is putting out 312 horsepower. The electric motor is putting out 143 horsepower. And incidentally, the peak for the engine is at 6,000 RPM. Now the V60, the cross country, puts out 247 horsepower, but a lower peak RPM of 5,400 RPM. So I find that very interesting, actually. It isn't, but what's really even more interesting, what the hell was that? What was really interesting here is your torque peaks, because this has 523 pounds of feet in the torque department at between 3,000 and 5,400 RPM. Which is a nice big spread of power, and that's a massive amount of torque for such a little engine, which these turbocharged engines, especially when they're supplemented by an electric motor, can do that. By comparison, the non-electrical heavy mild hybrid on the V60 is at 1,800, which a much lower torque peak, but it's only 258 foot-pounds. So see what they've done with this particular, this is all rotating around a 2-liter inline 4 turbocharged engine that Volvo has tweaked for this particular application. And so there you get all this wonderful power out of this very small engine. And like I said, the thing that is most impressive to me about that, the numbers are good. I mean, it's got a lot of power, no question, but it's very, very smooth, and the transitions back and forth between the electric motor and the gas engine are great. And another beautiful thing, typical Volvo, look at how big that hood opens up. I'm telling you, they get the opening up of the hood prize, because they do such a better job than everybody else. It gets way up out of the way, and you got plenty of light, so you can actually get stuff and poke around underneath there without hitting your head as easily. So, beautiful, beautiful powertrain. I am enamored by its technology and its performance. And here's kind of a funky wheel. I like this wheel. It's weird. It's kind of, it looks like kind of the backdrop from the show Laugh-In back in the 60s. I don't know why I think that. That really doesn't make any sense at all. But what we have here is your Continental cross-contact LX Sport tires. And your tire size is, what is your tire size? 235. 45 R20, so we got 20-inch wheels here. Woo, huge. But it's funny, they don't look as massive as some wheels. It just fits the line of the car nicely. But you got a little bit of meat here between the pavement and the wheel for protection. So you ought to be in pretty good shape with that. But they have typical Volvo fashion. You got very, very adequate, sizable brakes, nice big rotors, nice big calipers. And I'll tell you something else about this car I really, really like. This is like a dark edition or something like that. What did I do with my Monroney? Hang on a minute. Come with me. It's in here. We're going to find it together. Let's take this out. There's my notes. Drop that. Here we go. Look at there. Dark theme. Now, unless I miss my guess, it's not very dark on the outside. As a matter of fact, this is a beautiful, beautiful paint job. Is it metallic? No, it's more of, well, yeah, it is. It's an ultra fine, almost looks like a mono hue type of, well, it's just beautiful. I don't know what to tell you. The paintwork on this car is outstanding, which I see more and more of these days. They really go out of their way to produce a beautiful paint job on these cars. And something that you're encouraged to actually wash and wax occasionally. If I own this car, I might actually do that. Who knows? But here we come around to this very stylish rear end, and then we activate the power lift gate. Woo! What are you doing here? Oh man, here's trouble. We were doing so well, and now here he is. As you can see, this is a good height load floor because it's about almost exactly knee level is where the bumper is. So it's nice. It's a good all around height for loading things. You have your 60/40s that bend forward. Then we have horsewoman. Say hello, horsewoman.
Hello.
Thank you. And if you look here, we have tie downs on each side, which is very convenient. And one of my favorite things about this is if you want to lower one of these, you press that. Actually, wait a minute, I'm a liar. Oh, this is a car going up and down. Check this out. That's to lower the car. Can you tell? It's going down for ease of lowering. So when I'm talking about the actual load height and the lift over, you can actually modify that. That's amazing. I didn't even know that. Apparently we have an air suspension. I haven't crawled around underneath there and looked yet, but apparently we do. Well, that would explain the ride quality, which is quite good. Anyway, 60/40 fold down so you can expand your cargo area. And underneath here, we have, there is our charging cable. If you're going to charge and you're not at a charging station, which usually, of course, has its own cablature. And there's our massive 12-volt battery. There we have a air thing, which that's probably we got one here made in Austria, and we got one here, and that is probably where some of the air is being stored for the rear suspension, to tell you the truth. Could be the front suspension too. I don't know. I have to look underneath there and figure all this out. But then over here we have your part of your tire mobility kit. What is that hook for? That hook has a purpose, I'm sure. But anyway, that's what you got underneath here. You got part of your air system, and you have part of your tire mobility kit, actually all of it. So that means we don't have a spare tire, but we do have good things like your hybrid battery and all that other good stuff that's occupying all that space. And here, let's bring this back up. Woo! I like that. That's all part of that system that you were just looking at under the floor. Oh, it is a world of surprises, this one. And if you look down here, this is the most interesting exhaust thing I've ever seen, because what they're doing is they are, there's a dog here. Here, fetch this. It looks like there's no exhaust at all, like it's a full electric vehicle, but it's not. And this is kind of a hybrid exhaust system, I guess. I don't know where. I bet underneath this cowling area here, and we'll look at this in depth later on, but they probably have a more conventional exhaust pipe coming out on either side. But from behind, you would swear you may be going all electric here, which this car spends a good amount of its time doing the electric thing. So there you go. All right. Man, the more we play around with this car, the more surprises, huh? I love that. That's part of the fun of examining Volvo's latest creation, the XC60 Recharge. And it is, in fact, a dark noir edition. I have to figure that out, because I initially thought I had the wrong Monroney when I saw that, because this is not a dark car. Usually I associate the darkness with a dark paint hue, but no. But this is beautiful. So let's proceed. Let's find out what other surprises are in store. Now, nothing is more fun. Well, actually a lot of things are more fun. But nothing is more like it is than me trying to navigate my way through a Volvo interior without really doing my homework beforehand, even though I've done probably, over the last year, I'd say I've done a half dozen Volvos that some have been on the Boots Tarkington YouTube channel, perhaps you've heard of it, to all the other write-ups I've done about them, and I still get lost in this car. And it's not because the car is inherently, how they lay out all the instrumentation, functionality things is dumb or is crazy, but it's just, it doesn't work in a naturally intuitive nature for me. But, you know, it works fine. And the longer you have the car, the more you get used to it. But anyway, being a Volvo, and being in this case the XC60 Recharge all-wheel drive Ultimate, you do have a lot of the very, very latest state-of-the-art graphics that adorn the interior, including the instrument cluster. And this being a true hybrid, and not just a mild hybrid, and not being a vehicle that has a full electric power plane, but a gasoline engine with an electric powertrain. What we have is, on our left, we have a speedometer. Always good for a laugh. And it's both digital and analog for your entertainment. Now, if you look over to the right, you'll see right here, that's how many miles I've driven the car so far. And then below that is our miles per gallon since I've had it, 57.2. Not bad. How many times have I plugged the car in to charge it overnight? Once. I meant to do it more, but we're having a few issues with our electrics at our house at the moment, that they're about to replace an entire circuit board. Not circuit board, what am I calling it? It used to be called your fuse box, but now it's called your breaker box. But anyway, that whole panel is going to have to be replaced because of age and arcing and fire danger and all that stuff. So I haven't plugged it in but once here. If you were to plug it in at some place like a Charge Point or Electrify America, something like that, this being a plug-in hybrid, it would charge up fairly quickly, I think. But to charge it at the house with a normal 120 current, it will run you about 12 hours, I'd say, to go from no real battery reserve all the way up to 100%, something like that. But anyway, where was I? Oh yes, in the middle we'll have a map, which is great. That's where we are. And there's Google. Google is located right there. A lot of people didn't realize that Google is found here in Connecticut. That's their headquarters. Maybe not. And to the right, we have a very useful kind of an energy meter as much as anything else. If you go up to the top part up in here, this register here, as I press on the gas and absolutely nothing happens, that's when you're using more of your gasoline engine. And as you go down, you're both charging and using the electric. It's not the most intuitive thing in the world, but while I am there, let me combine two things with one. Our shifting quadrant is interesting because the transmission is such that, what do they call this transmission? Well, I'll tell you, they call it a E all-wheel drive and adjustable drive mode setting transmission, essentially. And to me, what does that say? Well, that says that's probably a continuously variable transmission. And what else kind of points to that, and when I say continuously variable, it's not the normal kind. It's probably similar to what Toyota uses in their hybrids, which is an electric motor-powered transmission. The way I know all this is because we're in park right now, and there's your reverse, and there's your, well, neutral is, it just, there we go. It's harder to get into neutral. That's probably on purpose. And then there's drive, and then there's B, plus, and minus. Now, what does this do? Well, that is probably engine braking, and how do you increase that? I'm looking at it, trying to figure out. Plus and minus. Now, it sure looks like you'd go left or right, and there you go. There's B1, and 2, and 3, and 4. So, you do have that must be regenerative braking. That's what that's got to be. I'm going to, when the next time I drive the car, which will be shortly, I will definitely find out what the heck that's all about. But anyway, the shifter is here, and what I just did is I took us down into B all the way there, and that's to increase your amount of engine braking, and that is to decrease the amount of engine braking. And then you go all the way down and you get into the drive setting. And park is right here. Just a button, like so. Yeah! Yeah. And while I'm down here, since I'm going to dance all over this dashboard, your start-stop is very strange in Volvos, but I'm sure there's a really interesting reason why they do it this way. It's probably safety-oriented, but to turn the car off and on, you do that. I just turn the engine off. Tells me my battery range is 0 and my fuel range is still 400 miles. So you're talking about, with what I've already driven, over a 500-mile cruising range. That's impressive. And then we go like that. Oh, put your foot on the brake there, Booch. Okay. There we go. Now we've powered everything all back up again. And it's telling me that someone is sitting in the driver's seat and has not affixed their seat belt. That would be me. So, anyway, what else can I tell you about this display here? Well, we do have this here that, that's your volume. Oh, I'm sorry. That's your volume. That's your volume up and down for your radio, and this is your various stations that you may have pre-selected. And if you hit this, I believe that will change. Here we go. That's what I was looking for. That's our trip computer. What happens if I do that? Close and open. Oh, very nice. The odometer, this particular test mule has 4,508 miles on it, which is a real nice number for a broken-in test vehicle, because that's what I like to see more than anything else. If you get them when they're brand new, I don't care what anybody says, there's still a little bit of break-in involved with these vehicles. And once you hit about 4,000 or 5,000 miles, they're in good shape. They're like as it's going to be probably most of the rest of its life if you maintain the vehicle, as far as the characteristics of the engine and everything else. It's pretty smooth as it's going to be after it has about 4,000 miles on it. This is just complete conjecture, opinion stuff for me, but that's sort of been my experience with a lot of vehicles. So, it gives you all this information, like I mentioned before, 57.2 miles per gallon. Your average speed, how long you've been driving. I've been driving the car for 4 minutes and 4.35 hours. What? Hey man, don't run off on me. I'm not done with you. And you can also set the trip to reset itself manually with each trip. And it does that anyway. I think TA is probably, it doesn't stand for what that famous song is from a chorus line, but that is your trip manual and trip auto for your pleasure. And this will take care of that altogether. You can make it all vanish, or you hit this and it'll come back. Now below here, here's this is what I love, the simplicity of this. This is excellent. This is how much you have in terms of your battery reserve, how much battery power you have, and down there is how much fuel you have. Nice, huh? It's right there, always there, easy to find. And here I complained about the craziness of Volvo displays. Well, that's a good one, because it's as simple as it gets. Now, here we have our portrait-shaped thingamajig. Now, this touchscreen uses, I think, Google. How do I know that? Well, let's see. Let's do that again. I'll go back here and go here. Oh, there we go. I like that one better. But this is our map, and the maps in the Volvos are always kind of beautiful like this. They're very clear, very easy to read. And in this case, a portrait as opposed to a landscape format works okay for me. I'm getting used to it, because this particular one, the ones I have a problem with is if it starts here and goes down about here, and everything in the car is done via the touchscreen. I really don't like those systems, because they make it much, much harder to keep your eyes on the road ahead of you and creating your situational awareness when you're poking around on a touchscreen trying to find whatever you're looking for. This car has its foibles in that regard, but what you get in return is a very, very clear, in this case, a three-dimensional type map. A lot of people that use Google nowadays also have the satellite imagery folded in on it. Now, can we do that with this? I don't think we can. But look at all the goodies in this. Is like your what you call your Foursquare right there, or your Hollywood Squares, if that's what you wish. You have all these things you can go to right away that will share with you. Plug Share, the driving journal, Bluetooth media player, all these different selections you can make. And this is always a good one to have, which is your owner's manual. You can dial it up and try to find out what in the world the car is doing that you don't understand, which in other words, I spend a great deal of time in there. Over here, this is also extremely important. This little gear is, of course, your settings for the vehicle. And in the driving area, very interesting. Look at the drive modes. We have hybrid, power, pure, which I believe is their way of saying EV. Let's see if I put pure on now and it says it can't do it. Well, look at there. It's not doing nothing. Look at that. Look at that there, doing nothing. But we can go into off-road mode, and my suspension is coming up. Oh, you know how much I love that. There we go. Whoop. You can just make out the hood with the pollen under. The hood is the thing underneath all the pollen, is what I'm trying to say. So we have that, and then we have our constant all-wheel drive setting. Optimized power distribution to all four wheels when constant traction is needed, which results in a higher energy consumption. Well, that's no surprise there. Now, what does it say when I hit pure? It will not acknowledge my pureness. I don't know what that means. Always start in pure mode. Oh, I see. Well, let's turn it off and then try to put it into pure. Well, I don't know what pure is all about. Where's my... I'm not going in the owner's manual right now, but wait a minute. Here, let's do this together. Let's try this. Let's try P-U-R-E, and it'll say it's a water filtration system. Economical driving, maybe? And it's telling us to achieve the longest possible driving range, the driver should plan the trip and adopt driving style and speed to the car. Wow, that tells me nothing about what pure is. Come on, guys. I think I'm getting a little bit of battery use. Maybe that's what it is. Use the hold and charge functions to help control the charge level of the hybrid battery while driving. Hold and charge are available in all drive modes. This function will switch off if pure mode is activated. Well, it's just apparently a mode you go into that it stops everything else from moding. That's what I think. I've had enough of you. I've had enough of your ways. we're going to go back to our selections here. But anyway, the battery usage automatic is the computers will select the best and optimal use of your battery for both economy and charging. You put it on hold, and I believe it will stay in the internal combustion engine mode so as to save the battery. If you're about to go somewhere, like you want to sneak down someone's driveway and try to sell them some Amway or something, you put it on hold, and then you can put it on to you can put it into probably into pure mode or something, and it'll make sure the engine shuts off, provided you have sufficient charge on the battery. And also, charge here is for when you're charging the car, I guess. No, that's primarily trying to charge the car. Probably ups your regenerative braking. See, I don't know. This is why I like doing Volvos, is because I don't know nothing. Down here, I've got pilot assist turned off, lane keeping aid turned off, and yet the car, if you head off to the right, it will still try to steer you into the lane. I haven't been able to figure out how to stop that. But the creep mode is, I think, tied in with your adaptive cruise control. Steering feel firm, yes. Air suspension, it has one. It's on. Air suspension control for easy entry and exit. Yeah, there's a switch at the back, which I believe I showed you when the hatch is open, where you can actually lower the rear, the butt end of this thing a little bit, in order to facilitate loading of the vehicle, which is something we all like to get loaded from time to time. So, all right. You know, I had somebody the other day that said I shouldn't do these car reviews while I'm drunk. Well, I didn't have the heart to tell them I haven't had a drop of alcohol in at least a decade. So, not because I had a problem with drinking, but I have I have some physiology that does not agree with alcohol. Let's put it that way. And it causes me physical problems. So, no alcohol. Sorry, I know I sound drunk all the time, but that's how I go through life, pretty much. But I have not ever done one of these reviews when I was drunk, which is really sad when you think about it. Okay, so we go down south here, and here we have more of a climate-controlled type situation, but not entirely. But here's this is our front defroster, our rear defroster. This is a radio control, and as of right now, I don't have anything loaded up. I think I have it on Bluetooth, and the thing that it is paired with is not here, is miles away. But this, you can forward and aft through your various channel selections and that kind of thing. Now, what about climate, you ask? Well, if we go here, here's our heated steering and our heated or cooled front seats right there. And climate control in general, you press that right there, and there we go. Then we have the details of your climate control. Again, not a real easy switch to just bang, boom, bang. You have to go to the touch screen and mess around with it to find what you're looking for. You also have the option of turning on your defrosters right here, so that if for some reason you are opposed to these buttons down here, you can go into here and do this. And this, of course, will increase your zones. Oh, low. I didn't want to go to low. Oh, I just hit low. Well, there we go. And this, I assume, will bring them together. Let's see. Yes. Owner. Now, how do they, the passenger and the owner, now how do they know I own this car? I don't own this car. I'm just the driver, man. I don't own this thing. Well, what I thought would bring them together does not. Okay. Let's try that again. Synced with driver. Thank you. Oh, but now I'm a driver. See, before, if you will recall, I was an owner, and I hit this, and now I'm a driver. Volvo. I mean, come on, guys. While I'm up here, there's your little, that's like a subtweeter multi-woofer Deluxe 5000 that goes with your Bowers and Wilkins sound system. I just want to let you know about that. All right, so down here, you've seen most of this. So there's our electronic parking brake, which is the best way to go these days by far. And then we have a little console here, and we have both, a USB and a USB-C right in there. Can you see that? Can you see? Right. Oh, there it is. Yeah, it's right there. Right there. Okay, now then, what else do we have? Well, what about the upholstery? This upholstery, first of all, these seats are incredibly comfortable, very, very supportive. And this is a mix. You have choices here. And I believe this is the, you have a Napa leather upholstery with tailored wool blend seating surfaces. It's not the one we have here. We have the Napa leather slash leatherette slash textile sports seat. Which is what we have. And by the way, I never talk about this enough. This is the dark theme XC60, which doesn't seem all that dark to me. The interior is black, but the outside paintwork is in fact called. Where is that? We have metallic? It just says metallic paint. Well, it's a beautiful color, whatever the heck it is. It's in here somewhere. I could find it, but my eyes are just going out. I've been busy in front of a computer doing stuff. But seating is very, very comfortable. There's plenty of headroom. You have a beautiful panorama that we operate with this. That's closed and that's open. Oops. There we go. That's our shade. I'm sorry. Here comes Mr. Shade. Stop, Mr. Shade. And I want you to go back now, Mr. Shade. There we go. Isn't that pretty? Again, it really does enhance the airiness of the cabin. And this has a pretty tall roof line, so it is in fact quite airy. All right, let's abandon the front of the car and go to the back of the car because, well, it's the true mark of a sport utility vehicle. We open up only about 84 degrees instead of 90, but it's a pretty generous opening overall. I think most individuals can get in here easily enough. We flip up. Oh, wow, this seat heater's on. Who did that? I didn't. Gosh. Oh, you have heated seats back here, by the way. But I have the front seat back quite a bit, and look at all this lovely leg room. It has a lot of room in it and a lot of headroom and a really nice, fancy, state-of-the-art, wild even, LED map light for each of your rear seat passengers, provided you only have two of them. And we have a very mild, this looks like it should open, a very mild drive shaft tunnel that really I don't think is used for much of anything except running cables underneath there, because the rear drive system is separate, electric, fully electric, I believe. I'm 90% sure of that. I haven't actually crawled under it and stuck my finger in it, but there you go. Here we have windows that go not quite all the way down. Actually, I'd say it's about 90%. I prefer them when they do the 100% thing, but you know, they do what they can. They do their best. And the seating back here is really nice. The seats are raked at a certain degree here, and here's your fold up. You have a button up front, and I forgot where it is, but it's up there, so you can lower these, and so you can see out the back better, because Volvos have always been about the visibility and the situational awareness. They've always been about that. But these are real comfortable seats, and here we have a very, oh, look, is there a little ski through here? What the heck is that? It seems fixed. But the, look at there. Isn't that cool? Let's do that. I'll do it in slow motion, but my God, my videos are too long as they are. Okay. There we have a very comfortable height and width and length to their rear seat armrests. That's excellent. I still can't get over how much leg room you have, and just room in general. This is a very roomy car. It's not really I guess you could call it a compact. What do they call it? What do they call it? Hang on, stick with me. What the heck do they call this thing, the EPA? The EPA denotes it as a small SUV, four-wheel drive. So there's a lot of room in it for a small SUV. I'll tell you right now, it's got more headroom than most of them, by a margin, I would say. And if you look here, you can see where your your rear cargo area is that we've visited before. And do these recline? Ah! Yeah, that's what happens when you do that. The headrests go down. You want to see that again? That's kind of cool. We always live for the cool. Ready? Un, deux, trois. Ah! Yeah. Boy, you feel a sense of power when you do that. Now, what's that little runner back there for? That is for your parcel concealment, I guess. I didn't play with that enough. Well, that's there. There is that. Okay, so plenty of room, excellent comfort to the seats, good lower back support for a rear seat. This is not an overly flat rear seat like so many of them are. This actually gives you some good lateral support. And the dark theme is, maybe that's just primarily the sense of controlled classiness, let's say, a bit of sporting luxury understatement. Yeah, that's what we'll say. But that's the inside of your XC60 Recharge all-wheel drive ultimate dark theme. Gotta remember that last part. Thank you for playing. As we all know, I do love a bit of elevation in the air suspension department, don't I? I just like the sound of it. So, let's see what we can do here. Let's do this. Let's go into off-road mode and see what happens. The engine starts. And now, we raise the chassis. It's kind of a seesaw sort of thing. You go up in the front, and down in the back, and up in the front, and down in the back. And at some point you reach off-road equilibrium, equal often and roaded. Anyway, that's how that works. But wait, what if I want to lower the suspension for, and I quote, easy entry and exit? Oh, I'm falling. I'm falling. Isn't it amazing? We have the optional air suspension, which incidentally, that'll set you back, where is that down here? We have the ultimate features, which is this. We have the ultimate. And we have the four-corner air suspension, a $1,800 option. But look at what it'll do. Shall we go back high again? I want to do that. We're going to do that. And then we'll climb back up again. You know, if you want to, you could probably do this pretty much all day. And unfortunately, I'm the kind of person that would not only do this all day, but I'd film it all day. And that would make my videos even more boring than they already are. Well, as we begin our driving around in the car portion of this video, I want to remind you of a few things that I've never told you about initially, so it's not really reminding you, but there's things you have to have with you. I have to make sure that I have, one of the most important pieces is the Monroney, which is the, of course, sticker to the car, so I know the equipment should I have a question arise as I'm driving the car. And then I need to make sure I have my notebook for that kind of thing, you know, the notes. But most importantly is my coffee. Now right here is where I always put, I don't have my coffee. Where the hell? Well, we'll just have to go back and get it. Here's the thing. Coffee is very, very important because that caffeine helps to loosen up your brain to the point where you will notice every nuance to the automobile, every, you know, noise, rattle, creaks, anything like that. You'll be able to clearly see the world around you in a blatant case of situational awareness. And you will also be able to, well, actually, you'll have to stop more frequently to take breaks, if you know what I mean, when you're driving on a long trip and you're full of caffeine.
But anyway, I apologize for the slight delay to the beginning of the drive-in portion. There it is. I left it over by the gate. Why in the world did I leave it out there? Do you think there may have been a horse involved? Quite possibly.
If I was to describe a Volvo XC that's a hybrid like this in here, I would, in one word, I would say quirky. Because Volvo is very quirky in the automotive realm. It does, they really go about their own way, and a lot of it's really interesting because it's like you have someone designing a car who's thinking very differently from most of the car designers out there. There's a lot of similarities with European manufacturers because they look at things a little different. I think that actually comes from the fact that they drive in a very different environment than we do here in America in so much of Europe. A lot more traffic. They don't travel the vast distances that we do all the time, and all kinds of other factors. And the fact that, fuel has always been more expensive in Europe than it is here. And you combine all these different factors and you get a little bit different way of car design all the way from the ground up. But what fascinates me most is from an ergonomic standpoint of how they do their controls and everything else. This car here, which got my Maroni, it's this XC60 Recharge all-wheel drive Ultimate, is a real interesting one to me because if you'll remember, it wasn't that long ago, I had a Volvo station wagon, I believe it was in the 60 range, that was that had a gasoline engine in it, and it was a very mild hybrid, and I mean really mild. It was not powerful enough to, it was just kind of an engine assist sort of thing, really. It didn't have enough power to power the vehicle by itself. This one, being a recharge unit, does have a gas engine. Does have a 312 horsepower gas engine, as a matter of fact. No slouch there. And as you can see, can you see? It's a 2-liter turbo. Now, what I really like about this as a test car is because we're transitioning. I've done some full electric Volvos, but I don't know if I can't remember right offhand if I've done one on YouTube yet. I will soon. But this vehicle is on its way to being full electric, and it's right in between that very mild hybrid, and this is a plug-in hybrid, which means it's a full hybrid drive system, but you have the plug-in option to it, so you can plug the battery in and you get 30 something miles, I believe, on full electric, something like that. But between that and the gas engine, you have a tremendous amount of range, and that's awesome because range is good. And unlike full electrics, you never have to worry. You can always put some gas in this thing if you have to, quickly and easily. Although, the electric side of things is getting better all the time. I just had which I'm sure you watched, or have I shown it to you yet? Yeah, I'm sure I probably have. But I just had an all-electric Genesis GV70 and electrified, and I went from 30% to 100% charge at a Electrify America charging station in 50 minutes. That's not bad at all. I mean, that's a nice lunch, which is what incidentally I had. So that's better. That's, to me, my biggest bugaboo has been not range to me as much as how long it takes to recharge the car, and that's fast. So, but the beauty of the hybrid is that you don't even have to worry about that. Yeah, if you need to plug it in, if you want to plug it in, if plugging in is available, you can plug it in and use far less fuel that way, but you don't have to. If electric, you don't have time, or you don't have the facilities you need to plug into, you can keep right on going. So this is a real nice combination of the two. And 148 horsepower out of the electric side is no slouch. That's really something. Your overall horsepower is over 500, so or sorry, 455. I'm so sorry. 455 horsepower, I believe. So that's a lot of power for even your most motorhead hungry types. You got to get you where you're going in a hurry. The ride quality so far, since it's incidentally my first sampling of this vehicle, and you're with me, you're on board, is good. I like the ride quality a lot because it's got that great mix of firmness that I like. I like a fairly firm suspension, but at the same time it's not harsh and it doesn't get ridiculous. Overall, it's good. It's very good. And the only weird thing about these Volvos is it will take you, if you're going from say a Ford or a Toyota or a Buick and you're jumping in a Volvo, you're going to be lost initially because everything's different. Where they put the controls, how they do stuff, it's all different. However, the time that it will take you to learn it is not that bad. However, if I was to knit some picks.
Strike that. Reverse it. Thank you.
Thank you. I would have to say a lot of the interface to do stuff takes much more time. For example, I got in the car and it took me a second to realize that there's not just a climate control system, which I'm always talking about. That seems to be the most standardized things on cars. Well, not on this one. You have to press this button here to get into that, and then you'll have access to it, but that's just another step. I wanted to put it was on manual, I wanted to put it on automatic because it's set up. Oh, that's the temperature it's set up on? Oh, I want it cooler than that. There we go. How about that? Nope, that, nope, that, nope. Golly, let's see if we can see. This is the thing I hate, but these things are so persnickety. There we go. Cars are really good at surviving accidents now. They've come so far. Volvo's a great example of that. They have done so much extensive crash testing and learned how to build the cars so they absorb energy in an accident. So that's like a kind of a driver to everything Volvo does on their cars. It's just one of the key factors, one of the key boxes that they want to tick before they release a car. But the thing about it gets me about that is there's so much on these cars that I find distract you, and that contributes to having an accident. So as you can see, one of the things I've been most interested in is how smooth the transition is from the electric motor to the gas engine on this hybrid, and it does really well. It's very, very smooth. It's up there with some of the best, and the engine itself is wonderfully quiet. And I don't even have, I have a little less than half of the battery charged. But it's using the battery a lot. It's using the electric side of things a lot, very definitely. Especially whenever you take off from a standing start, your initial thrust, as with most hybrids are this way, is electric, and then the engine kicks in. But when the engine kicks in on this car, it's very, very smooth. I like it. We likes it a lot. Better be careful there, feller, because I'm in a Volvo and you'll get hurt and I'll be fine. I don't know. Do you think the average Volvo driver is smug? Yeah, hard to say. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it has come to my attention that I have exactly 5 minutes to get home to feed the animals. If I'm not there on time, oh man. Yeah, you ever seen any of them Jurassic Park movies? Well, I'll tell you what. Take that and multiply it times 10. And you will find the environment I will find myself in because somebody's dinner was not on time. We're talking cats, dogs, fish. Oh man. And you see, when you're away, they communicate with each other, and they tend to decide to do things that will make your life miserable if you do not do as they demand. Oh, come on, little XC60, get me there. Well, I do like how this thing just takes off and whizzes along. It feels like this is such a great transition vehicle for people that are not real sure about doing an electric yet. Because this gives you everything you need to experience the beauty, the smoothness of the electric motor, the inconvenience, which is not that bad, but it is an inconvenience of plugging in. You don't have to, though. As I mentioned, it's not absolutely necessary for you to plug in. However, you can, and you'll get more of that tremendous electric engine pleasure. And man, you put gas in this thing and you can go like a long way. Whip into the gas station, fill her up and keep going, or park it where there's an electric outlet. First of all, you go in the gas station, you fill up your tank. That'll take you 3 minutes. And then you drive over to the restaurant and you plug her in if that restaurant's cool enough to have some electrical connections for your convenience. And then you go in and have a nice dinner when you get back outside, provided that it's charging with something a little bit more meaty than 120 volt, at least 240 volt. 240 volt's fine. And you go have your nice dinner, and then you come back out and your car's all charged up and it's all full of gas, and off you go for another 500 miles. Well, this was actually saying 580 miles of range. Wow. Great, huh? That's road warrior territory. And now we're going down one of the most popular of the testing roads. So far, I'm finding this thing to be such a pleasure to drive. Now, even though it is a SUV and does have a good amount of ground clearance, it does handle very sedan-like. It doesn't feel overly top-heavy. More and more SUVs are getting better and better, and there's a lot of different reasons why that's happening. There's extensive use of high aluminum and high-strength steel in the upper part of the car to make the upper part of the car lighter. And then the heavier components are done down here. And this is why all these electric cars handle quite well in terms of flat cornering, because they have their batteries on the lower part of the chassis. Now the downside of that is it adds a lot of weight when you're looking at a full electric, but a car like this, it's not that big a penalty. And this does use the lithium-ion batteries as opposed to the nickel metal hydride. I think, boy, this is another one I should look into, but I'm pretty sure Toyota is the only company left that is still using nickel metal hydrides in some of its hybrids, such as the Sienna and the Crown, the brand new Crown, which I haven't gotten a hold of yet, but I'm looking forward to getting one of these days. It has nickel metal hydride batteries too, I just noticed. So here's my prediction about that, by the way. Those engines in the Crown are going to end up in the Tacoma and in the new 4Runner. That's my prediction. I've queried Toyota about this, and they would not answer the question. They said that they have the Crown and and the Tacoma have completely different engineering teams. Well, no kidding. It didn't answer the question of are they going to be using basically the same engines. They always tweak them when it's used in something different, like when a car engine, if you go back in history, like the original Tundra 2000 era had a I believe 4.7 liter V8 that was sourced from Lexus, but it wasn't the Lexus engine. It was the basic design of the Lexus engine, and some parts did transfer over, but most of it was designed to be in the Tundra, for the kind of driving that the Tundra does, needs to pull weight and stuff like that. Most manufacturers do this. This engine drivetrain on this Volvo is found in, I think, the sedan version. It's basically exactly the same. And there's a lot of reasons for that are good. One of the best reasons, if you have the same engine being used frequently throughout the lineup, it helps everybody. It makes parts availability for your engine much more plentiful, because the dealer's bound to have the part you need without having to order it for the engine, because all the engines, all the drivetrains have that engine, let's say. And I'll give you a model. I'll give you one of the reasons Southwest Airlines, when it started, back when I was but a wee pup in Texas, they all flew, the entire airline flew one airplane, which is the Boeing 737. There were variations of it, but the basic airplane, including the engines for the most part, were the same when it first started out. So they didn't have, and at the time, all these other airliners that it was competing against in the regional route wars had several different airplanes they were using, so they had mechanics that had to be well versed in all these different airplanes, and they had all these different parts that they had to source for all these different airplanes, whereas Southwest kept their expenses down pretty dramatically, actually, because they just had, I think there was a term for it. I think they called it a monofleet or something like that. But all the planes were the same, and so that greatly reduced their operating costs. Well, it's the same thing with cars. The new Tundra engine, for example, the V6 twin turbo, I believe was derived, and I checked on this, I looked into it, and it's definitely derived from the Lexus twin turbo. It's not the same exact engine, but it's derived from that, so it's similar. And there's got to be parts that are the same in it, because they're too closely matched. So with Volvo, they're doing the thing where, first of all, they are really aggressively phasing out gas engines, period. Pretty soon their entire lineup is going to be electric, according to them. Their automobile. Obviously, they make so many other things, including big trucks. That's not going to happen with them for a while yet. But in terms of everything else, their automotive line in particular, they're going to go all electric. But they're going to do it, I think it's going to be a little more gradual than they've initially stated, and they're going to have a lot of cars like this, which best of both worlds.
Ah, yes, it is Monroney time. I've been flashing it in front of you. Now you get to actually read it. This XC60 Recharge all-wheel drive ultimate dark theme has a manufacturer suggested retail price with all the options that this thing has, including a very nice Bowers & Wilkinson sound system. Your bottom line comes to $74,690. Kind of a best of both world things, the plug-in hybrid, because you have your electricity there, but you don't have to depend on plugging in all the time because you have your gas engine. And regardless of what you are driving, you be careful out there. It's a dangerous world, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Gesanke wollen, sein viel